The world has told you what you are: a body, a brain, a bundle of cells trying to survive long enough to achieve something before it's all over. But the more science advances, the more cracks appear in that story. Because when we dig deep, not into spiritual speculation, but into the bedrock of reality itself, we find something strange, something that quantum physics has been whispering for over a century. You're not just a body, you're not even just a mind. You're something much stranger, something far more expansive, a field of energy, a node in an infinite web, a consciousness interacting with reality in ways that defy what most people are ready to accept. But you're here, so you're ready. So let's begin at the place where physics and mysticism accidentally shake hands. The moment we discovered that the universe doesn't work the way we thought it did. The double-slit experiment is taught in every physics classroom, but its implications are so wild most people quietly ignore them. You shine a beam of electrons or even photons at a barrier with two slits. Behind it is a screen to catch the pattern of where the particles land. Now, if electrons are just particles, little balls flying through space, they should land in two vertical bands, one behind each slit. But they don't. They create an interference pattern, the same kind of pattern that you get when you send waves through both slits, meaning the electrons are behaving like waves, like probabilities, like they're everywhere at once. But here's where it gets even weirder. As soon as you place a detector at the slits to observe which path the electron takes, the pattern changes. Suddenly, they behave like particles again. The interference disappears. What just happened? Observation changed the outcome. Measurement collapsed the wave function into a single location. In other words, consciousness influenced matter. This isn't poetry. This is replicated science. And it's not a fringe idea. Nobel laureate physicist Eugene Wigner once said, "It was not possible to formulate the laws of quantum mechanics in a fully consistent way without reference to consciousness." Read that again. Without consciousness, quantum mechanics doesn't make sense. So ask yourself this: if observing something physically alters its behavior, who or what is the observer? And what does that make you? Because if reality shifts based on observation, and if your awareness is what counts as the observer, then you're not just interacting with the universe. You're co-creating it. You're not a passive passenger in this world. You're an agent, a participant, a projector of energy, collapsing probabilities into outcomes. Quantum physics didn't just change how we understand atoms, it changed how we understand you, and this is just the beginning. If observation collapses a wave into a particle, then what's happening before we look? The answer should stop you in your tracks. Before being observed, nothing is solid. Everything exists as probabilities, potentials, energy fields in flux. This is known as the quantum superposition, and it's not science fiction. It's the proven behavior of particles at the smallest scales. A single electron exists in multiple states at once. It's not here or there. It's both. Only when measured does it pick a position in space and time. So now ask, what are you made of? Atoms, molecules, subatomic particles, and every one of them plays by these same quantum rules. This means your body, the thing you identify with so strongly, isn't solid in the way you think it is. It's a collection of energy patterns, constantly shifting, vibrating, appearing stable only because your perception freezes it that way. But the biggest twist is this: It's not just external matter that behaves this way. Experiments like the delayed choice quantum eraser show that even the past can be altered by present observation. The act of measuring now can affect how a particle behaved before. Read that again. Something you do now can change how something behaved in the past. This rips open the fabric of time itself and tells us something profound. Reality is not a fixed story unfolding in a straight line. It's flexible, moldable, interactive, and your awareness, is the key that makes it real. It's not enough anymore to say you're just a physical being living in a physical world. That model has collapsed under the weight of quantum observation. You're not the body, you're the awareness of it. You're not the brain, you're the witness of thought. What quantum physics quietly reveals is that consciousness is fundamental, not a side effect of matter, but something deeper, something that perhaps even gives rise to matter. This view isn't new. Eastern philosophies have been saying this for millennia. The ancient Vedic texts describe the universe as Maya, an illusion shaped by the observer. Buddhist teachings tell us that the mind creates the world. Now modern physics is beginning to echo them. Physicist John Wheeler, one of the giants of quantum theory, put it simply: no phenomenon is a real phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon. That's not philosophy, that's experimental fact. You are not simply living in the world. The world is happening through your awareness of it. And this awareness is not a product of neurons firing in your skull. That's just the biological lens, the radio, not the signal. Your consciousness, the real you, is something deeper, non-local, eternal, not limited by the skin you live in, and that changes everything. Let's stop pretending this is a metaphor. What we're talking about is real, measurable, repeated. The idea that your body is just a biological machine, a meat suit walking through a dead physical universe, is outdated. The data doesn't support it anymore, and it hasn't for a long time. The more we study the quantum world, the more the old assumptions fall apart. That the universe is made of stuff, that matter exists independently, whether we're looking or not. That we are isolated minds, trapped in fragile bodies, separated by empty space. Wrong, all of it. Every time we look deeper, we find entanglement, connection, uncertainty, intelligence. Everything is linked in a way that defies time, space, and even causality. Quantum entanglement, for example, shows us that two particles, once connected, remain linked forever. If you change one, the other instantly reflects that change, even if it's on the other side of the galaxy. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, and he hated it because it defied his classical worldview. But it's real and has been verified. So think about what that means. If subatomic particles can remain entangled, regardless of time and space, and if you are made of those particles, then why wouldn't you also be entangled with everything? Entanglement isn't just something particles do. It's something being does. When you feel someone's energy in a room before they speak, when you know someone's about to call before your phone rings, when you walk into a space and feel like something happened there, these aren't just random sensations. They're evidence that your consciousness is wired into a greater network. You are more than this body because what you truly are, conscious awareness, is not bound by it. Dr. David Bohm, one of the most brilliant theoretical physicists of the 20th century, proposed that the universe operates through an implicate order, a deeper layer of reality where everything is already connected. Our experience of separateness is just the surface, the explicate order. It's like watching waves on the ocean without realizing they all rise from the same water. In Bohm's words, in some sense, the observer is not separate from what he observes. The observing process changes and transforms its object. So again, we circle back to the most important question. What are you? You're not the wave, you're not the water, you're the field that holds it all. This is what quantum physics forces us to confront, that your identity, your essence, is not a fixed thing. It's fluid, it's energetic, it's inseparable from the field in which everything exists. And the more you recognize this, the more power you regain. Because when you stop identifying with the body as your boundary, the illusion of limitation falls away. When you stop identifying with your thoughts, you stop being controlled by them. And when you realize you are the field of awareness in which all of this appears, something shifts permanently. You begin to see that you're not walking through the world. The world is walking through you. This is not theory. This is a conclusion quantum physics keeps pointing towards, even if mainstream science still struggles to accept it. You are not small. You are not separate. And you are not defined by skin, history, or location. You are more. And now it's time to remember. If you've ever felt like there's more to life than what you can touch, see, or measure, you're not crazy. You're aware. You've caught on to the fact that the material world is only one layer of the experience. And now, quantum physics is catching up. Let's revisit one of the most misunderstood and groundbreaking experiments in all of science, the double-slit experiment. Imagine a machine firing tiny particles, electrons, through two slits in a barrier aiming at a screen behind it. When no one observes which slit the particle go through, the result is a wave interference pattern. That means the particles aren't acting like individual bits of matter. They act like waves, energy, moving through both slits at the same time, interfering with themselves. But the moment scientists decide to observe which slit the electron passes through, the wave collapses. The electron chooses one path. It stops behaving like a wave of potential and behaves like a solid, measurable particle. The very act of looking causes the change. This has been tested, repeated, and confirmed in labs across the world. So what causes the shift from energy to matter? Observation, or to be more specific, conscious attention. This isn't just philosophy wrapped in science, it's data. Something about consciousness interacts with physical reality in a way that causes energy to become form, not through effort, not through force, but simply through awareness. So ask yourself this: what else in your life is waiting to take shape, waiting to collapse into form simply through the power of your focused consciousness? This is where physics and manifestation start to dance together. The universe isn't some dead machine grinding away while you watch helplessly. It's participatory. You're not a bystander here. You're a participant. You're affecting reality constantly just by being aware. And that brings us to one of the most essential insights of this entire journey. If everything you experience is filtered through consciousness, and if consciousness is non-local, not confined to your brain, then the boundaries of you are far wider than you've ever been taught. You've never really seen the world. You've only seen your version of it. your translation, and what creates that version, your state of consciousness. When you're anxious, the world looks dangerous. When you're at peace, it looks forgiving. When you're in love, everything glows. You know this. You've felt it. Quantum physics simply gives you the explanation. What you call reality isn't something outside you. It's the reflection of your vibrational state interacting with a field of possibility. That's why two people can experience the same event and describe completely different realities. One person sees magic, the other sees misfortune. One sees opportunity, the other sees threat. The event didn't change. The observer did. And this is why you're not just more than a body. You're more than a personality. You're more than a past. You're more than a name. You're the field itself, conscious, aware, and constantly shaping what appears to be outside you. Einstein once said, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." He wasn't being poetic. He was pointing to a fact. Our experience of space, time, and form is a construct. Real, yes, but only within the framework of consciousness. When you begin to understand this, not just as an idea, but as something you feel in your bones, your life changes. You stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop waiting for permission. You stop looking for truth in textbooks and titles. Because you remember. And when you remember that, you can start creating with intention, not just reacting by habit. This is the threshold. And crossing it means seeing that your body was never the full story. It was a doorway, a vehicle, a lens. The real you, the part that's aware of all of this, that's not physical, and it never was. To truly grasp what quantum physics is revealing, we need to let go of something we've been conditioned to believe since childhood. The idea that consciousness comes from the brain. This belief that your thoughts, your emotions, your sense of self are just the result of neurons firing in the right pattern has been the default narrative for decades. But quantum discoveries are turning that idea inside out. Let's go deeper. There's a concept in quantum physics called non-locality. It refers to the fact that two particles, once entangled, can instantaneously influence each other regardless of distance. It doesn't matter if they're inches apart or light years. Change one, and the other reacts immediately. This isn't a theory. It's been proven again and again. Here's where it gets wild. The information shared between entangled particles moves faster than light, which means it doesn't move through space at all. It doesn't travel. It just is. The connection is outside of space and time. Now think about consciousness. If entangled particles can remain linked without a physical bridge, isn't it possible, likely, that consciousness works the same way? Isn't it possible that your awareness isn't in your body at all? What if your body is more like a receiver than a generator? A finely tuned instrument that picks up consciousness from a field that's always been there, always broadcasting? You've heard it said before, maybe even scoffed at it, that we are all connected. But what quantum physics shows is that this isn't just spiritual fluff. It's literal. The same quantum field that binds particles is the field that binds us, and not just to each other, but to the entire structure of reality. Now pause for a second. Let that land. Because if consciousness exists in this non-local field, and your brain is just interpreting it, then you aren't trapped in this body. You're not the machine. You're the signal. You're not the object. You're the awareness flowing through it. And if that's true, then death loses its edge. Fear loses its grip. Time starts to stretch and blur. The rules you were told to live by don't seem so solid anymore. This is why mystics across cultures, long before quantum theory, spoke of the same truths, that the body is a vessel, that the self is eternal. That separation is illusion. Quantum mechanics didn't invent these ideas, it just gives us language to validate them. Take, for example, physicist David Bohm, once a close collaborator with Einstein. He proposed that the universe isn't made of separate parts, but is instead a hollow movement, an undivided wholeness in constant motion. He described what we see, matter, people, events, as the unfolded reality. But beneath that is the implicate order, a deeper layer where everything is interconnected, inseparable, existing as one. Now listen to this quote from Bohm. In some sense, man is a microcosm of the universe. Therefore, what man is a clue to the universe. We are enfolded in the universe. He's saying what the sages always have, the truth is within you because you are part of that truth, not separate from it, not observing it from the outside. You are the universe experiencing itself from a single point of view. You're not just in the field, you are the field, folded into form for a brief time with a name and a face and a story that you call you. But the awareness that sees the story, that's not personal, that's cosmic. So when you think you're just a body, remember, that's the illusion. The body is real. But it's not all that's real. It's a vehicle for consciousness to explore, express, and evolve. Just like a lens brings a scene into focus, your body brings a portion of the infinite into view. And when this sinks in, not just as an idea, but as a felt truth, everything changes. The fear of not being enough disappears. Why? Because how can the infinite not be enough? The fear of death softens. Because how can the signal die if the radio is just one channel? The need to compete, compare, and prove, it fades. Because how can wholeness compete with itself? This is why the ancient texts said, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. Quantum physics is confirming that truth. So take a breath. You're not just this body. You're not your past. You're not the roles you've played. You're the field that moves behind your eyes, the awareness that never ages, the space between thoughts. And science, for all its equations and experiments, is finally starting to point at that same mystery. You are more than flesh and bone, more than thoughts, more than time. You are the awareness that sees all of it. And in that realization, you begin to wake up. So, if quantum physics is showing us that reality isn't fixed, and if consciousness might not be confined to the brain, then we have to ask a difficult but important question. What else have we misunderstood? For decades, maybe centuries, we've been taught to believe in a solid, objective universe, a world made up of separate objects, moving through a timeline, governed by physical laws that can't be broken. You live, you age, you die. Now, game over. But quantum physics doesn't agree. It tells us that matter, at its smallest scale, isn't solid, that the particles making up your body aren't little billiard balls but clouds of probability. They exist as potentials until they are observed, and only then do they choose a state. What does that mean in everyday terms? It means that the universe does not operate like a machine, it operates like a question, and consciousness is part of the answer. Take the famous double-slit experiment. When particles are fired through two slits, they behave like a wave, as if they're going through both slits at once. But the moment someone observes the experiment, the wave collapses into a particle. It picks a side. It acts like a thing. This has been tested, retested, confirmed, and it still confuses the brightest minds in physics. Why? Because it suggests that matter doesn't exist in a fixed state until it's observed. Now think about that. If particles exist as probabilities until they are observed, and you're made of particles, what does that make you? Are you solid, or are you something far more fluid and open? The evidence points to this. You're not as fixed as you think. Your body, your world, your reality, it may all be responding to how you observe it, how you expect it, how you interact with it. And this is where things start to get incredibly powerful. Because if consciousness plays a role in shaping matter and you are conscious, then you are not just a passenger in life. You are a co-creator. This isn't a belief. It's not a spiritual idea dressed up in modern clothes. It's what the data is telling us. Reality doesn't fully form until something or someone is there to witness it. And this brings us to the edge of something enormous. If everything exists as potential, until you focus your attention on it, then your awareness is a force. And that force can't just be a side effect of brain chemistry. It must be something woven into the fabric of the universe itself. Einstein, who initially rejected the idea of quantum uncertainty, once said, "The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible." He sensed something deeper, that the human mind is somehow able to understand the universe because it is part of it, made of the same fabric. That consciousness isn't separate from the cosmos, but a function of it. Now combine this with what physicist Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, said back in 1931. "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness." This wasn't a mystic. This was a scientist who laid the foundation of quantum theory. And he said that matter comes from consciousness, not the other way around. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a radical shift in perspective. A shift that says, you are not just a bystander in a cold, mechanical universe. You are the focal point of an interactive, living field of possibility. And that field responds to you. Your thoughts are not background noise. They are signals. They shape what you see, feel, and experience. And if that's true, if consciousness is a creative force in the quantum field, then your physical body is just one expression of something far more expansive. You are not limited to your skin. You are not defined by your memories. You are not trapped by your biology. You are part of a non-local consciousness that exists beyond space, beyond time. And when you realize that, not just understand it intellectually, but feel it in your bones, everything begins to change. Suddenly, healing becomes possible in ways you never imagined. Suddenly, you begin to notice synchronicities, alignments, moments of strange clarity. Suddenly, the stories you've been told about your limits, your worth, your fate, start to fall apart. Because now you know something different. Now you know that your identity isn't fixed. Now you know that awareness isn't bound to your brain. Now you know that your life is not a script, it's a canvas. And you hold the brush. This is the real revolution happening right now, not in technology, not in AI, but in the rediscovery of human consciousness as something vast, creative, and interconnected. Quantum physics is not here to replace spirituality. It's here to validate it. It's not telling you to abandon your humanity. It's inviting you to expand it, to look at yourself, not as a brain in a skull, but as a focal point of something much more vast. This is not a theory. This is a doorway, and you're standing right in front of it. When we talk about the idea that you are more than a body, it can sound poetic, maybe even philosophical. But this isn't about metaphors anymore. It's about physics. It's about how the universe actually works. There's a concept in quantum mechanics called non-locality. What it means is that two particles that were once connected, entangled, can still affect each other instantly, no matter how far apart they are. One can be on Earth and the other on the other side of the galaxy, and they still communicate instantly. No signal, no travel time, just connection. Now remember, you are made of particles. So is everyone else. Everything that exists in this universe comes from the same fundamental source. This is not spiritual fluff, it's observable fact. So if all matter is connected at a quantum level, what does that mean for you? It means your body is not an isolated object. It means your consciousness doesn't end at the edges of your skin. It means there is a thread, subtle but real, connecting you to everything. And yet most of the time, we live like islands, separate, cut off. The body becomes a cage. The mind becomes a prison. You think your identity is your story, your memories, your job, your name, but those are just the outer garments. They change, they fade, they can be rewritten. What doesn't change is the field that holds it all together, the field that you're part of and always have been. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Now think about that. What is a body, if not energy, in a particular pattern? What is thought, if not a vibration in the field of awareness? We are beginning to understand that what we call physical is actually just the densest, slowest moving form of energy. But beneath it, within it, is a more fluid reality, a world where form and structure are illusions held together by intention and observation. And what happens when your body changes, when you age, when you fall asleep, when you die? If consciousness is not limited to the brain, if thought exists non-locally, then the boundaries of the body no longer define you. They can't, because something in you continues, something in you connects. This is not wishful thinking. This is where quantum science is taking us. The observer effect shows that the act of awareness changes the outcome of experiments. The placebo effect shows that belief alone can create physical healing. Brain scans reveal that imagined experiences light up the same neurons as real ones. Consciousness isn't just observing reality, it's creating it. And here's the part no one tells you. You don't need to understand the equations. You don't need a physics degree to live this truth. You just need to realize that what you call you is not a fixed point in space. It's a process, a field, a moving, vibrating pattern of information that exists in constant dialogue with the universe around it. You're more like a song than a statue, more like a wave than a wall. You're dynamic, alive, and deeply, deeply connected. But here's the thing. Most people don't feel that way. They feel trapped in their heads, chained to their circumstances, limited by what they've been told is real. Why? Because our entire society is built around the illusion of separation. You're taught from birth that the world is out there and you are in here, that your body is a container, that your mind is private, that your fate is fixed. But quantum physics shatters that illusion. It says the world is not made of separate objects. It's made of relationships, interactions, vibrations that depend on each other to exist. And that includes you. You're not outside the system looking in. You are the system. The old model said you were a machine, a collection of parts. Now we know you're a field, a pattern, an intelligent ripple in the quantum sea. And here's the kicker. Fields don't end. They don't die. They just transform, which means your story, whatever it is, isn't the full story, not even close. Your experiences are real, yes. Your body is real, but it's not the whole of who you are. You are more than the things that happen to you. You are more than what you were told you could be. You are more than a nervous system reacting to random events. You are part of something vast, not metaphorically, literally. And once you begin to feel that truth, not just know it, but feel it, everything shifts. You stop chasing things outside of you for validation. You stop believing that you're broken. You stop needing the world to fix you because you realize you were never just a body to begin with. You are consciousness in motion. You are energy with direction. You are not just in the universe. The universe is in you, and the moment you understand that, the moment you stop pretending to be small, a whole new level of reality opens up. Because now, you're not limited to the rules of matter. You're working with the laws of energy. You're playing with frequencies, not just facts. With presence, not just plans. With power, not just personality. You begin to remember something ancient, something deep. That the body is beautiful, but it's not the whole story. That awareness is not a product of the brain, but the canvas everything else is painted on. That you are, always were, more than a body. And now, science is finally catching up to what mystics, shamans, and sages have known for thousands of years. There's something unsettling that happens when you really sit with the idea that you are not just your body. At first, it feels expansive, liberating. But then the questions creep in. If I'm not my body, who am I? If reality responds to consciousness, what's real? What does any of this mean for how I live? Let's not skip over those questions. Let's lean into them. Start with this. Most people are addicted to the physical, not just addicted to physical pleasure, but addicted to physical proof. You want evidence. You want results you can touch, measure, post about, take pictures of. That's the world we've been conditioned into. If something isn't material, it's considered imaginary, less real. But that conditioning isn't based on truth. It's based on a worldview that is outdated, because quantum physics has shown us that what we experience as solid is almost entirely empty space. The atoms that make up your body, 99.9999999% of their volume is just space. That's not a theory. That's measurable. So what are we really looking at when we see a solid body? Patterns, frequency, vibration. The structure of matter is not what gives it form. It's the energy field organizing it. It's the code behind the appearance. Now apply that to yourself. Your body is a beautifully sophisticated system, but it's not the operator. It's the interface. Your thoughts, your emotions, your intuition, these are not just byproducts of the body. They are interactions with a larger field of consciousness. The body is not producing your experience of self. It's translating it. And here's something wild. Your body doesn't even experience now the way your awareness does. Neuroscientists have found that your brain processes sensory input with a slight delay, around 80 milliseconds. It has to piece together signals from your eyes, ears, skin, and internal systems and stitch them into a seamless now. But the real now, the true present moment, that exists outside of the brain's timeline. That's where awareness lives. That's where you live. So who are you if not the collection of signals running through this machine called the body? You are the witness, the observer, the field of awareness in which all of this is happening. And what happens when the body is no longer functioning? That's the question people avoid. But quantum physics opens the door to new possibilities. When a particle is entangled with another, it doesn't stop interacting just because one of them ends. The field continues. The pattern endures. The information isn't lost. It's redistributed. This doesn't mean reincarnation is real. It doesn't mean you'll float around like a ghost. But it does suggest that awareness is more fundamental than biology. That consciousness is not a side effect of matter, but something deeper, more essential. And that changes everything. It means you're not walking around in a world of objects. You're moving through a sea of interactions. Each moment isn't just physical, it's energetic. Every thought you have, every emotion you generate ripples out into that field. It affects what you attract, what you notice, and how reality bends around you. Let's take a pause here and really consider what that means. You've been trained to think the world is happening to you, that your job is to respond, to survive, to adjust. But if your consciousness is influencing reality, then you are not just reacting, you're participating. You're in the driver's seat, whether you realize it or not. And this is where quantum physics stops being theoretical and starts becoming practical. Because once you realize that you're interacting with the field through your thoughts, your emotions, your attention, you start making different choices. You stop pouring energy into things that drain you. You stop chasing a validation in the external world. You stop outsourcing your power to systems that were built to keep you asleep. Instead, you begin tuning yourself. You choose your frequency. You notice how your inner world reshapes your outer reality. This isn't magic. This is resonance. Have you ever walked into a room where someone just had an argument and you feel the tension in the air? That's resonance. Have you ever thought of someone and they suddenly call or message you? That's entanglement playing out in daily life. Science doesn't deny these things. It just hasn't caught up to explain them fully. But ancient traditions already did. The yogis, the mystics, the indigenous wisdom keepers, they spoke of energy fields, of life force, of spirit. Not metaphorically, literally. They just used different language. Today we say quantum field. Back then they said chi or prana or mana. Same idea. A unified force underlying all things. And once you begin to recognize that force in yourself, not just intellectually, but experientially, you stop living like a victim of your circumstances. You begin to align. You stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, what should I be? Because being comes first. Frequency comes first. Doing flows from that. It's like tuning an instrument. You don't play a beautiful melody with broken strings. You tune, you listen, you adjust your vibration until it matches the harmony you want to experience. And guess what? Reality responds. People show up. Opportunities shift. Patterns you've carried for years begin to fall away, not because you force them, but because they no longer match your frequency. This is how quantum understanding empowers your spiritual path. It validates what many have felt but couldn't prove, that your inner world is not just a private experience. It's part of the fabric of everything. You are not alone in your mind. You are not locked inside your skull. You are not just a body walking through space. You are space. You are vibration. You are intelligence moving through form. And the more you realize that, really realize it, the more you remember what you've always known. You were never just this skin. You were never just your past. You are the field. And you are free. By now, something should be stirring in you. A sense that your story, this life you're living, is not just a series of physical events happening by chance. It's something much more intricate, more intelligent, more alive. We started this journey by examining quantum physics, what it actually says about the nature of reality, about the observer effect, non-locality, entanglement, about particles that don't exist in any one place until they're measured, about reality that responds to consciousness. And what we've seen, what's undeniable, is that consciousness isn't just a product of the brain. It's a force. It's the field in which matter organizes itself. Now bring that full circle. What if the world around you is not fixed, not external, not separate, but part of an ever-changing responsive mirror? This is the core of it. You are not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through your awareness. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." That's not poetic metaphor. That's instruction. Everything you experience is vibration. Your thoughts, your body, your emotions, the chair you're sitting on, the air you breathe, all of it vibrating in different patterns and densities. The illusion of separation is just that, an illusion. Quantum mechanics has shown that particles are entangled across vast distances, that their behaviors are mysteriously linked. That observation collapses possibility into a single outcome. That intention matters. So now ask yourself this. If the universe responds to observation, what have you been observing? What have you been paying attention to? Because that's what you've been reinforcing. That's the frequency you've been choosing. It's not about blame. It's not about guilt. It's about awareness. Once you know you're the observer, not just the subject, you begin to wield a different kind of power. The power to collapse new outcomes, to choose different perspectives, to align with new timelines. And yes, that sounds big, maybe even overwhelming. But it's actually simple. Shift your attention and you shift your energy. Shift your energy and you shift your experience. And when enough of your experiences shift, your life does too. This is not motivational fluff. This is rooted in real principles that physicists, biologists, neuroscientists, and mystics are all beginning to agree on. Not because they all use the same language, but because truth keeps showing up across disciplines. You've been taught to think of yourself as fragile, as one person in one body trying to survive in a massive, indifferent universe. But the deeper truth is the opposite. The universe is not indifferent. It is responsive, it is participatory, and you are more than a person trying to survive. You are a node in the infinite network consciousness, a temporary pattern of energy through which the universe becomes aware of itself. So the question becomes, now that you know this, how will you live? Will you keep outsourcing your sense of power to circumstances? Will you keep waiting for external permission to believe in your own agency? Or will you stop pretending to be small? The people you think of as powerful, enlightened, magnetic, they're not better than you. They just remembered something most people forget, that their awareness is power, that the energy they carry is influence, that they don't have to force life. They just have to resonate with it. And resonance can't be faked. It's not something you say, it's something you are. You can learn the language of the quantum field, not by memorizing facts, but by feeling the truth in your own experience, by meditating, by listening, by observing the subtle responses of reality to your internal shifts, by letting go of control and learning to move with the rhythm of the unseen. So maybe the final realization is this: you are not a thing in the world. You are the field through which the world happens. And when you stop reducing yourself to your name, your history, your job, your image, you begin to touch that field again. You don't have to believe every thought you think. You don't have to become every emotion you feel. You can step back, watch, choose, align. This is what it means to be more than a body. You are consciousness, fluid, expansive, timeless. And when you remember that, life stops being about survival and starts becoming what it was always meant to be: creation. Every day becomes a canvas, every moment a new point of access. Every choice, an energetic message sent into the field. And the more you remember this, the more the field responds. You'll start to see the synchronicities, the shifts, the mirrored feedback loops, and suddenly things won't seem random anymore because they aren't. You're not here to observe life passively. You're here to participate, to co-create, to embody the field itself. You're not just more than a body. You are the awareness behind form. You are the presence that changes the world just by being awake within it. And now that you remember that, the game changes.